It's a very special morning for us as we do our Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And at this time, I'd like to ask Bob Seagave, Athletic Director at Roberts Wesleyan College, to come forward for the ceremony. And after the ceremony, President Porterfield will lead us in the first 50th medallion ceremony.
Thanks, Kirk. This is also my first Yesteryear's brunch, and I'm honored to be here celebrating with each one of you. Many of you are being recognized for 50 years or more, so welcome back and congratulations to everybody. It's my great privilege today to introduce a distinguished group of men who impacted Roberts in a special way. As I've been fortunate to get to know these men better over the past year, I've been in awe of the historic significance of this team. But most importantly, what caught me is the family bond, the Roberts Wesleyan College bond that they share to this very day. From the stories of hanging out at Harry Hutt's house across the street watching football, talking sports, to locker room stories that I guess will have to remain in the locker room. And through the highs and lows that come with building a team, they all provide a beautiful picture that I know is painted on the hearts of each one of you. Today, for the first time, we induct a team, a very special team that represents the greatest era of men's basketball at Roberts Wesleyan College. A team of lasting significance is not born overnight. The seeds were planted and nurtured under the leadership of Coach Bill Hughes in the 64-65 season when they were 14-6. But today we recognize the team that had a record of 18-4 in 1965-66 and then came back the next season in our 100th year with a 20-5 record that included an amazing run of 16 consecutive victories, many school records, and a team that brought home the first ever Monroe County Tournament Championship that's up here. And that's a tournament that became, you guys didn't know it in year one, but became the longest running in-season tournament in the country as it hit 50 years a couple years ago in its final year. So, and we're certainly here to recognize the outstanding talents of Coach Hughes and the Raiders. Most of these men are in the Roberts Hall of Fame for individual accomplishments. For a few, Frank Carter left here as the all-time leading scorer, and his per-season average is still tops. The same with Bill Bachman, who left as the all-time leading rebounder and still has the highest rebound average in school history. But again, I'd like to focus on the lifelong relationships that I've seen, their love for each other, and these actions that I've been fortunate enough to witness. Oh, and certainly the way you all remember, a team that energized the campus. The yearbook noted that for a basketball team to be successful, it requires teamwork and full cooperation. As a former coach, the lasting significance of these memories echo in our stadium and in our arena to this day. The footprints that I want our student athletes currently to realize that they are also walking in. This is why we decided to begin to honor special teams that have left a legacy that we all need to be reminded of. To those of you who were students here during that special era, you may have been part of the groups that lined Buffalo Road when the team came back from the NAIA playoffs. You may have been part of the turnaway crowds that were consistent and the basketball fever that encapsulated our college. You may have been going down to Churchville Chili, I see nods, to see the Buffalo State game. But one simple sentence brings it up, and Stan Ziblet said it to me yesterday: it was the best time to be a Raider, and I think we would all agree. So on behalf of Roberts Wesleyan College, congratulations, and we welcome a team to the Roberts Hall of Fame, and I'd like to ask our president, Dr. Dina Porterfield, to join me. And as we get ready, it's now my great honor to invite Coach Hughes and the members of the 65-67 era of Roberts Wesleyan Basketball College to come forward and be inducted as a team into the Roberts Wesleyan College Hall of Fame.
Hey, doesn't he look like he can still do it? Look at him. You're not an ounce over your playing weight, are you?
You know, I didn't learn anything. Everywhere I went, I was a gunner. Bill was right.
I know, but your playing weight, unbelievable.
How are we going to line up there? Well, I don't know.
We have a run out of room here. I didn't realize we had this many people in it.
Darwin champion.
Yes.
It's like the Yankees.
Congratulations. Oh. Okay, we need a photo moment, right?
Yep. Get up here.
We'll step away.
Just waiting for Bill.
Yeah, there he is. There he is.
Yeah, you still got it, Brad. You still got it.
Little guys in front of face.
I know. Either that or we got to stand sideways.
My name is Hughes. I'm going to hide in the back.
He didn't.
Oh, how's my hair? My hair
You look
okay?
great. As nice as mine. Calm it down a little, buddy. Get in your eyes.
How you like to look? Okay.
I'm good. I love you with me. She gets it. I realize there's like people everywhere.
People are asking us to say their names. Do you have a list or doesn't have a list of their names? Okay, can we do that?
Good?
Keep standing there for a second.
So remain standing for one more moment. If we could just again recognize your Hall of Fame team. Harry, could you do me a favor? So I'm going to ask our sports information director at the time, Harry Hutt, to come forward and just give you one last chance to recognize each man individually. He'll kind of go through the roster, and then after that, we'll have Frank Carter come to speak for the team, and then Coach Hughes.
See, these are all the reasons you should have been nice to me. Because now I got the mic.
Give us an intro, Harry.
Oh, where is it? Where is it? All right, this is a great pleasure to introduce this group of men. And so we'll start somewhere in here. We'll start with the guy that did so much to hold this all together and did such a great job. No, not the coach, but the guy who was called the manager. You call him the operations guy, call him whatever you want, but he just busted it every trip, every home game, and in so many ways. Paul Morose. And I don't know, we'll kind of go this way, I think, sort of. And next to Paul was the guy that never figured out how to shoot a right-handed jump shot, so he did it left-handed in a deadly way, Dave Scribner. And next to Dave are two guys that made this team so special. You got to remember, it's 50 years ago. And guys weren't jumping out of the gym and doing a lot of tremendous athletic things. And in our competition level, if we faced somebody that had 2 or 3 or 4 guys that could dunk, we were like, whoa, check these guys out. Well, this team of Raiders had 9 guys who could dunk. And when they lined up, and Coach Hughes was not without a bit of arrogance in showing off the team and to the opponent, and near the end of the warm-up would start the dunking drill, and they would come one after another, bam, 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 and 2 of the best were the next 2 guys, Paul Kroll and Noel Smith. Noel Smith, otherwise known as Big Blue. Nobody to this day knows why he's called Big Blue. They know why he's big. We don't know where the blue came from. Next to Noel is the guy who was the defensive ace of the team at the forward spot, and that usually is because he can't shoot. And in his case, that's totally true. Glenn Schultz could not shoot a lick. But defensively, at a 6'4", 6'5" forward, small forward, again, almost unheard of in those days, unless you're going to the big-time Division I schools. He was absolutely incredible and just did a tremendous job. Dr. Glenn Schultz. One of the hardest working guys on the team, who didn't get a lot of playing time, but came out. I'm still in control here, okay? But came out night after night, practice after practice, and just dug and fought until the point where he actually, got a uniform and played a fair amount of time. And that would be Darwin Chapman. Fooled you. Step forward. Darwin, come on. Step up here. And moving on down the line, we had a guy that came off the bench and could shoot the lights out, flat out shoot the lights out. 3-pointers, which didn't exist in those days. If they had, he might have led the nation in 3-point shots. But a tremendous shooter and just an incredibly hard-working guy, and a wonderful, wonderful teammate. Herman Schwingle. Step out of here. Step out of here. Yeah, I didn't want to put that in. Herman said I forgot ball hog. Well, that was intentional. This is supposed to be a nice morning. And after Herman comes the other defensive genius, incredible player on that team, along with Glenn Schultz. But this guy at 6'2", 6'3", in a backcourt playing a guard position could stop any opposing guard. He was just that rugged and that determined, and all you had to do was, before the game, all coach had to do was say, Dale, you got number 10. And number 10 just might as well go home. Because Dale Easterly would never give up on that guy the whole night. Dale Easterly. A guy who has the fame to, as he told me today, which of course, you know, at this stage of the game, you have selective memory loss. And so I forgot all about this, but Ralph told me today that he actually played 5 games for me when I was the JV coach, and then Coach Hughes took him away from me before I could ruin him. And I feigned ignorance. I had no memory of that at all. But Ralph was a young guy that came into this team of veterans, and I think in the terminology that Herman used would apply definitely to Ralph, ball hog. Ralph still today, 50 years later, hasn't seen a shot that he didn't like and that he wasn't going to put up. But a great young talent that came onto this veteran team and was very helpful to this team, Ralph Roach. No, Bill's going to do it, Hughes. And the next 2 guys were in the backcourt, and as you can tell, because they're both kind of shrimp-sized, it's what he did his whole life, stand on his tiptoes. Stand, it still doesn't work. But they were such tremendous guards because they made sure the big guys, the shooters, had the ball, and that they moved the ball around, and they were just so intelligent, both of them, that they were a tremendous set of guards on this team. Stan Ziblet, Keith Moore. And I think we're done. Oh, I'm sorry. Come here, Bill. Come on. Please. Excuse me. For the 9th time. Coach Hughes. These guys are trying to tell me how to do my job. I'm not getting paid for this. You can't tell me how to do my job, okay? Anyway, the 2 guys, the stars of the show, far and away, everybody knew it. Everybody was comfortable with it. And they did their job every night, night after night. Bill, the supreme rebounder who could also score, great moves down low. And the guy who would usually be the guy leading off the dunking parade of the 9 guys, because in spite of the fact that he's a guy from Western Pennsylvania, he could jump very well and did a tremendous job, just a tremendous rebounder. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think he averaged 16, 17 rebounds a game, which was incredible. Pardon me? 18. They're telling me again how to do my job. Somebody just said 18. It's all right. Yeah, 21. We like 21. But a tremendous rebounder, defensive player in the middle, and of course the guy that teamed up with Frank, and to be is Frank the scoring star of the team, and the 2 of them just were the leaders. Bill sometimes vocally, Frank quietly, just go out, do his job, score, intimidate the other guys, run up and down the floor, tell the guys on the other team, I'm from Niagara Falls, you're in trouble. And they were. And Frank was a great scorer, and together these 2 guys were the core of this team, and for 3 years, which is unheard of in today's game, were together as teammates and the leaders of this team, and doing their job and doing a fantastic job of it. Bill Bachman, Frank Carter. And I was just checking with Bob, because he's the only guy in here that can tell me what to do. Other than there's a woman in this room who can tell me what to do. If I could only remember if it's Dina or Deanna, then she might be nice to me. And I don't blame her for that. But I didn't forget the coach. Trust me. I was just getting to the other guys. But Coach Hughes came, and came with a not a very good team, and came into not a very good situation, and came as a you could call him a two-fisted black and white disciplinarian that wasn't going to take guff from anybody, and it was going to be my way, or I don't know what else you're going to do, because it's my way, and that's it. And some of these guys, believe it or not, had issues with dealing with that, but eventually they all got the picture, and he learned to adjust with them, and they adjusted to him, and he did a tremendous job as a coach of this team, and the offenses and defenses that they ran, and the way that they competed against the top teams in the Northeast was totally a credit to, obviously, the talent, but the coaching that went on with him. And you could see that because after he left Roberts, because they wouldn't pay him $1 million a year or anything approaching that in the rest of his career at Fredonia, and I don't know if I'm going to miss something, University of Buffalo, and tremendous success at schools like that. And so you could tell that what went on at Roberts and the way he got that team to perform and what he did was not a fluke. Just did a tremendous job. We loved him, even though he came from Greenville College. And we all agreed that we would overlook that flaw in his character. And we're glad that we did, because he turned out to be a tremendous coach and a tremendous guy. To everybody on his team, Bill Hughes.
That's really well said, Harry. Harry covered an awful lot of bases, and he did a good job with it. There are a lot of things to say about this team, needless to say. First of all, thanks to those that had a hand in making the decision to actually accept teams in their entirety. A number of us out of this team have been inducted into the Hall of Fame previously, but I can tell you that we are extremely happy that all the rest of our guys are now in the Hall of Fame. We never would have been able to perform, like we did without every one of them. And they, although obviously some of them were not starters, you can only start 5 guys, but they were great players in their own right. And on somebody else's team, they would have been starters. But they were so important to us, and this new rule makes it possible for them to get the share of recognition that they really, really deserve. There are a lot of alumni out there that I'm looking at, and I'm guessing that some of you were around and some of you saw us play 50 years ago. Real quick, hands up if you saw us play in that period. Wow. Well, that's pretty great. The support then was terrific. The attitude on campus, the support from the administration, from the faculty, from the student body was terrific. Kids, during the week would say, Oh, who you got Saturday? How bad we going to beat them? How bad we going to beat them? And they're right. We packed the place out every week, and it was just a tremendous time. And there was a spirit, I think, on campus that everybody would like to have. And it was really just a great time. We're all here. Every single member of the team, of the 2 years we're talking about, is here this morning. That shows you what they thought about the importance of all this. And we've come from, Texas, Florida, Wisconsin, Kansas, Georgia, North Carolina. We've come from a long way, because this is really very important, and we certainly thank all those that were responsible. You know, a lot of you know about the team, but and Harry has said some about it. I would like to just mention a few things, because I'd like to try to keep this in perspective. Now, back in the 60s, the NAIA, of which we were a member, was a powerful group. There were over 600 colleges and universities. They all had basketball teams just like Roberts Wesleyan, and they all had the same goal in mind, to try to get just as far as they could in the national playoffs. That was our goal right from the very beginning. Even when we came in as a bunch of green freshmen, sophomores, we were talking about, let's make it to the national championship. And I'm thinking, as I look back on that, I'm thinking, wow, what a goal that was, because we were kind of a nothing team at that point when we started. We didn't have the things that a lot of schools had. We didn't even have a gym, and so we had some things to overcome. But obviously, we were able, to do that. And this is one of those things where all of you have been in this situation. You try to explain something to somebody, and you get real frustrated finally, and just say, well, you just had to be there to understand what I'm saying. And that's the way this was. You had to be there to really understand what we were talking about. But with 600 schools to compete, that was our goal. Let's make the national playoffs. And so in '66 and '67, here's what we did. We went 18-2, and then the next year we went 20-3. We were playing a good schedule. We beat up on all the state schools, which was a great thing. Not real Christian, perhaps, but it was a great thing. We had, of the 600 schools, we had one of the highest scoring teams in the country. This team averaged over 90 points a game. That's unheard of these days, but that was good enough to put us among the top 25 schools in the country, which means we beat out 575 others to be there. We also beat our opponents worse, or better, whichever way you want to look at it, than, again, most any of the teams in the country. We were among the top 25 with our winning margin. And again, I know that doesn't sound real Christian to try to beat them as bad as you can, but we were on a mission, and we were trying to develop a reputation for our school and our team. And that was a pretty good accomplishment. And we got 2 bids those last 2 years to the national tournament, just what we wanted. We went we played one other team each year. That winner went to Kansas City to the final 32 teams. We were right there, just as we wanted to be. Unfortunately, and there are a lot of circumstances we could talk about, but we lost one year by 2 points. We lost another year, having come from behind by 25. We came back and lost by 4. We lost in overtime once, and we were oh so close, but we had made it that far, and we were, just that close. And it was a terrific accomplishment, for the team. At the end of the year, the NAIA selected their top 25 teams in the country based on the season. And then we didn't make the top 25, but we made the next 15. And so we were named as one of the top 40 teams in the country in 1967. Out of 600 schools, for a little school like Roberts Wesleyan, that's not bad. We had 2 players that that were outstanding. I won't go into much more detail because Harry really put on. These players, they were kind of head and shoulders above everybody else, and everybody else was good. But these guys were just a little bit better than everybody else. They mentioned Bill and Frank. Bill was the 11th leading rebounder in the NAIA. He's average rebounding over 17 rebounds a game, which nobody does this day. He was the 11th leading rebounder in the country. That means of the some 6,000 players on those 600 teams, Bill Bachman's number 11. And that was quite an accomplishment, actually. I've told him all along for years and years and years that he really wasn't the best rebounder I ever coached, but I'm going to confess he was. He was. But he's the best rebounder this school had ever seen and probably will ever see, I suspect. Just a tremendous competitor and athlete. The other guy, there's so much you could say about Frank Carter. Frank was one of the top leading scorers in the country. He averaged over 25 points a game. He was in the top 25 scorers in the NAIA out of 6,000 players and 600 teams. And that put him in a tremendously large, small group of elite players. One night he decided to show us what he could really do, and he, against Oneonta State, he threw in 54 points. Which again probably gets done by 1/10 of 1% of all the college players in the nation. But Frank was absolutely outstanding. At the end of the year, the NAIA named their first team players, 5 of them, second team players, third team players, 15 players, and then they named an additional 20 players as honorable mention All-Americans. Frank Carter was there. He was a great, great player, one that and Frank's wife and son are here, and man, if there was ever any doubt as how good he was, believe every story you hear. But it was just a great time for all of us. It was kind of a fairy tale sort of special time, needless to say. But we were fortunate to be a part, and it was just something that rarely comes along. Thank you.
And now, Frank Carter.
President, I'm not much on talking, right, Coach? I'd just like to thank all of you for coming out to honor us today. As you can tell, we were a very special group of guys, not in basketball, but in love and friendship. Even today, we keep in contact, we see each other. You would never know I was the only black guy on the team, would you? I said, I was the only black person in the school, matter of fact. But you never knew it. We had such friendship. One person that can't be here is Ken Curtis. He was killed in a car accident. He's one of our best players, and we miss him dearly. But I don't have much time, but I'll tell you a little story. You're talking about Buffalo State. My honored guest, Bill, the biggest game of the year, we happened to go to a movie in Rochester. And we're sitting there, and I looked at the watch, and I said, Bill, I think we play in a half an hour. And we're in Rochester. And Bill got a nice little Chevy. So we came out of Rochester doing 100 miles an hour. I said, we come to the school, standing room crowd, they won't let us in. We said, we're playing. They said, no, you're not. I said, yes, we are. So we finally get in, and as luck would have it, the team's dressed. We walk in, I look at the coach. Bill looks at the coach. I walk by, get dressed. Bill walks by, and the coach says, Bill, come back here. I said, we had one of the best games we ever had. We were losing at halftime. We came back and beat Buff State, which was the Randy Smith era of teams. And I just want to sing on my teammates, my guards, the guys. They're talking about the dunk contest, or coach would be out there and we have on 3 layers of clothes that we finally got, and we take off, and then he gives the signal, and we start dunking. And then he look at Big Blue and Crow, harder, Crow, harder. Crow would be bleeding in the arm. Come on. I said, but just in closing, I want you to stand up and give a hand to my fellow man, Bill Bachman. He's facing a challenge in his life. And he's something special. Look at and to Coach Hughes, who Bill called Virgil, and Harry Hutt, who we ate all the popcorn at his house. We just want to thank you, and God bless all of you, and God bless the school. Thank you.